Okay, so I, this film wasn't for me, right? And I knew it probably wasn't gonna be, but I figured I'd give it a look, right? Because I've been surprised before. So you always go into these things with an open mind. Just sometimes it doesn't pay off. You know what I mean? So I checked out A Perfect Pairing, the new Netflix joint from director Stuart McDonald. It is written by Elizabeth Hackett and Hilary Gala Galanoy. I feel that's how you say it, you know? It is produced by Deborah Evans, Deborah Glover, and Robin Snyder, along with Tracy Vieira. It's executive produced by Fernando Sizwu, Tracy Robertson, Nathan Mayfield, um, along with Hackett and Galanoy. The music is from Nerida Tyson Chow. Casting was Nathan Lloyd. Production design Helen O'Lone. Art direction is Camelia Rook. And our cast. Well, people, we have Lola Alvarez, who is played by Victoria Justice. Um, there is also who plays her dad? Oh, yes. Antonio Alvarez plays her dad, Carlos Alvarez. Um, her best friend is Audra, Audra, Audra. I feel that's how you say it. Played by Lucy Durack. Um, then there's Max Vaughn, played by Adam DeMoss. He's got a sister, Hazel Vaughn, played by Samantha Tolji or Samantha Kane, where it depends where you're looking. Then you've got her boss, right, who is just referred to as Calder. He's played by Craig Horner. There's Breeze, played by Luca Astra Sadelis. Sorry. Sam, played by Emily Haviva. Kylie, played by Natalie Abbott. Ooh, who else is there? Diana, played by Veronica Neve. Peter, played by Liam Olsen. John, played by Charles Allen. Hamish, played by Nicholas Brown. Dano, played by Callan McKnight. Henry, played by Jaden Popick. Tim, Alex Neal. Yeah, I feel that's the main lot of people, right? And the gist of the piece is this: LA-based wine executive Lola starts up her own company after quitting her job and flies to Australia to secure a potential client. Lola finds herself working on a client's sheep farm under Max in order to prove her proficiencies. So, yeah, there you go, right? That's the gist. And as you see, you know what I mean? It's pretty much along those standard lines of, this type of film, which, I guess you would class as a rom com, right? Um, whew. Like the thing that I find odd about these films, right, is that it's written, right? It's written by two women. It's executive and produced by a whole gang of women, you know? But the story, it's not it's not very productive for women. Right? That's the thing that baffles me, right? Because you go to the film panels and talks and just all of this, and they're talking about proper representation and characters that actually play out like real women, and addressed the problems and issues that they face. But then you get these films which play out completely opposite to all of that. Right now, we we're sold that she's this really great wine executive, really good at a job, very successful, you know but her boss is a bit of a dick, and the way they show the boss being a dick is right. um there's a lady, you're assuming it's maybe secretary, right? She's sitting at her desk surrounded by balloons. There's basically balloons in front of her monitor, right? And he's like, "What the fuck? You know what I mean? Why are there fucking balloons everywhere? This is not how we work." And you have to admit that is a fair thing to say. Now, obviously, right? He could be nicer about it. Hey, kid, can you remove the balloons? You know what I mean? It's like, happy birthday, appreciate you, move the balloons. But it's a workplace, right? We know how we're meant to act in a workplace. So having like, come on now, right? But that's meant to show us, oh, he's a bad man. He's not nice. And you're like, you know what I mean? Like, listen, if you really want to show, look, there's so many things. There's so many ways you can show someone being a shit. But that's the big thing, right? And we have this situation where she's found this new client, right? But because someone else told, it's not like she found this person, but she rolled her eyes at it at first, because it was a celebrity wine label. We don't really know why Hazel Vaughan is a celebrity, but so that's what we're told. This is a celebrity wine label. But yeah, she's told about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's she tries, I think, one bit of wine, and it's like, oh yeah, no, and you kind of feel right. If you're making this choice on a major, trying to distribute this, label, wine house. I don't know what the fuck you call it, winery, vineyardery. You get the gist. Anyway, if you're looking to do that, you want to sample, their whites, their reds, their champagnes, their, rosés, their different types of wine, right? That's what you'd think. But she has one little sip and like, oh, gotta side these. So straight away, you know what I mean? They're not showing real business, but it's a film, so it's fine, right? Listen, I don't need every little bit of detail to be precise. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, people. You know what I mean? But right, so she's going off this. Now she tells supposedly her best friend, but straight out the gate, you know what's happening with that situation, right? And it's like, if you know how someone's gonna act, right? And if they've never done this thing, then there was no way they would do this. You know what I mean? It's just like, wait, what are we doing with this situation? But that is the reason she quits her job. So it's weird because she's like, oh, that was my pitch. And the boss is like, I mean, she told it to me first, right? And if someone just says to you, that was where's the proof? Right? So he doesn't do anything and she quits off that. Quits off that, which is you know, again, kind of irrational, right? But we're meant to be all up on her, right? All up on Lola, be like, oh, poor Lola, but we don't know her, right? But straight like the next day, she's like, "Oh, I'm starting my own business. I've got a logo. Look at my logo." Which is just like the first logo is just like, "Oh, that's the one." Come on, man. Look, I feel if you've worked on logos, you're going through a few iterations before you stumble on the first one. Even if the first sketch is like that is the foundation of what will be the logo, right? There's still refinements and working out the right colors and just all of that jazz. But again, it's a film, fine. But it's like I'm setting up my own company, but with nothing else in place yet. Nothing else in place. You know what I mean? Like, even if this was like always in the back of your mind, you'd have been like, okay, let me look into this, this, and this. You'd have that framework done. But she's going after this client, right? Because she couldn't get a meeting. And she knows that she'd already arranged a meeting for her old company for a certain date. So she's like, I need to meet them before that date. So obviously, right, there's an Airbnb on the vineyard. Obviously. You know what I mean? So she goes, and just some of the goofiness that we see. Firstly, she says she's only meant to be staying for a few days. Only meant to be staying for a few days, but has plenty of clothes. She gets loan clothes after the first week, but you're like, you shouldn't even have had enough clothes for the full week, right? You have that weird setup which never happens of, no, I'm not gonna take you as I can't do business with you. Oh, but if you help out on my farm, then I'll take a look at, like, no. When has that ever happened? Like, you know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, I wanna work for you, Tim Cook. Do you have any experience? Like, what's the deal? No. Wait, can someone grab me a coffee? I'll do it, Tim. Okay, you bring me a coffee and I'll employ you. Like, doesn't work like that. But these films want to set up this weird narrative that, oh, if you do this, this will happen, right? You have this weird situation between the girls that work, are working in the place, where it's mostly girls, which is an interesting one because I'm just like, with this kind of gig economy, this kind of thing, it's usually, you get a mix of backpackers and all of this, which is a mix, right? And to be honest, you probably have more male solo travelers than female just because of safety and shit, you know what I mean? But mainly females. And they're working on a sheep farm, right? Working on a sheep farm in the vineyardy place. They're always wearing makeup. You're like, you're slopping out sheep. You're not going to work with fucking makeup on. It's stupid. Like, no one sweats, right? No one's ever dirty. If you're, doing this sort of, you're gonna get dirty, but no one gets dirty. It's mind blowing. Mind blowing. Obviously, right? You know that her and Max are gonna form a thing, but there's gonna be a deep secret, which you know what the fucking secret is from jump. It's pretty fucking obvious, right? It's pretty obvious. Now, what is totally like it's we always have that situation where the person's like, I need to tell you and then they kiss, or like something comes up and they can't get the words out, and you're like, what? If you really want to tell so, you'd be like, hey, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? You I don't know why they do this. It's so lazy. It is so lazy with story writing. And it's not just this film. Let me just add, this is just the norm. I'm just venting right now, people. But this is the norm that is just frustrating. Frustrating. And then you get that situation of where you could have told me, I don't believe you're the person that I thought you were. And you're just like, okay. Okay. Firstly, just because you didn't know someone's surname, that means that everything, like, shut the fuck up. Secondly, when it's just like, "Oh, I never even asked for your surname," and you're like, no, but you badgered him throughout. Like, tell me more about yourself. Tell me how do you know Hazel? How do you do this? Why are you working here? She asked all those questions, which is basically what he was trying to avoid. You know what I mean? So it's just like when you play that situation of like, oh, now we're gonna have this friction between these two people, it doesn't make any sense. And then when they obviously, because people, you know how these films work, they make up at the end, but it's just like the way they make up, it's just like, wait, that's so you're gonna completely now change your mind on that, just that. It kind of makes you go, why even argue in the first place? Because that was nothing. The argument was nothing. This is ridiculous. You know what I mean? Because it's like, instead of just, okay, we could try again. Let's recalibrate. Let's go on the first date and we could. It's just like, oh, now we're gonna get married. You know what I mean? That's how they make these weird jumps. Weird jumps. You know, one scene that was really funny in this film. Oh my gosh, like hay fever right now is a killer, man. My eyes are just like, eesh. But yeah, they're sitting around a campfire, and old Max is playing the guitar, and Lola starts to sing, right? But the way everyone acts is if no one has ever sung around that campfire before, and you're like, listen, you got a load of drunk people, and you got people playing music. They would always be singing. They would always be singing, but yeah, they're acting like, oh, like she's she's singing. Oh my god! And then everyone waits for her to go, hey, join in, guys. And you're just like, no, they're a bunch of drunks. People would have joined in so long before that shit, right? So long. It's so crazy. It was like there's a bar fight, which again, you're like, what is going on? Right? I always feel drunk and stoned, right? That is always, there's hardly any films where it's portrayed well. Like drunk people, it's so, you're just like, no, people don't do that when they're drunk. Or it's suddenly they're having, it's just like, oh, I'm drunk. I'm going to ask these questions. Oh, look at me. I'm rambling. And you're just like, yo, what? Like a drunk person, you mean it's like they're either talking and it's non sequential. Oh, I'm not drunk, but I'm not making sense. But yeah, they're not making any sense, right? Their sentence patterns are off. You know, what I mean, you might leave words out, but it's just the way they want to portray it. It's You're just like, "Ay, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Ah, listen, a perfect pairing, as you might feel, I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it. But here's the thing. If you are a fan of, like stuff like, I always say it, but it always fits, right? Chalet Girl, right? Bridget Jones's Baby, or even The Edge of Reason, because those two, meh. The first one I liked, the next two, not so much, right? But I kind of feel it speaks to this, how to lose a guy in 10 days or 40 days, whichever that film of Goldie Hawn's daughter, you know what I mean? Goofy as fuck. if you like those films, right? If you like the TV shows that Victoria Justice is in, with the canned laughter and all of that, that's what a perfect pairing, right? It's made for that audience. So it's fine. It's got its audience. It will be popular, I imagine. You know what I mean? But I like a different type of, romantic film, right? Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. You know what I mean? That's my jam. In Search of a Midnight Kiss, the Before trilogy. So yeah, this didn't work for me, but I imagine, people, it will work for plenty, right? So if you like those typical kind of rom-coms, then this is your jam. This is your jam, right? It's on Netflix now, so people, go do your thing.